on divorce court today. For years, they partied like rock stars, but that self-destructive lifestyle took a toll on this couple. Tanya has been sober for a year and is trying to take care of their daughter. Robert's struggle with addiction is still an open wound. Tanya Smith and Robert Long have brought their dispute for Judge Lynn Toller to resolve. Testimony in divorce court starts now.
Ms. Smith, Mr. Long, the two of you have been together for 20 years, married since 1999, and separated for approximately a year now. Ms. Smith, you've come to this court with a very specific request, and it has to do with your child, and it also has to do with your lifestyle. So I want you to start by telling me a little bit about the nature of your relationship and your marriage, and then we'll go from there.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I met Robert Long when I was working the streets. He was my client. I was young. He ended up picking me up a week later, and due to my drug abuse and alcohol abuse, I didn't even recognize that this was the person that I robbed. And he
you robbed him?
Yeah, when first time I met him.
Oh, okay,
he gave me some
you
money.
skipped that part now.
Yeah.
That's okay. You were young.
Yeah, he picked
you
me
were
up.
working the streets. He picked you up.
He gave me the money first, you know.
Right.
And I told him I'd be right back.
And rolled.
Right, and kept it pushing. Anyway, he picked me up a week later. I'm drunk, I'm loaded, you know. He's like, oh, you don't remember me? You robbed me. I'm like, no, it was my twin, I told him.
You took your robbing well.
No, yeah, he must have, because he wanted some more. But anyway, I tried to convince him that it was my twin that robbed him. You know, I proceeded with that lie for years. Anyway, Robert ended up coming, what you might say, a regular. I mean, coming back quite often.
A regular client.
Right, you know what I mean? And that's how our relation started, you know? It started for a lot of years that way. And then 2007, we had a child together. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the middle of that time, you know? First, I thought he was going to take me away from the streets, and then it ended up due to our drug abuse. There was plenty of times that Mr. Long asked me, well, you used to do it before, can you go do it now? I'm out of money. You know what I mean?
So he was using as well.
Right, yeah.
He was using as well. Mr. Long, she's been very honest about what's been going on here.
Yes, ma'am.
Has she basically told me a truthful story from your perspective?
You know, I was using drugs and alcohol, and I was used to the lifestyle, and you know, I went to prison, and you know, bounty hunters came and got me, and I went to prison, got out, and I got her, and you know, I did take her away from that. You know, you know, because
well, let me ask you this. She says she thought you were going to take her away from it, when in fact you really didn't take her away from it. Where did she get that wrong? I mean,
you know, I did take her away from it. We stopped using it, and we stopped drinking, and you know, I was working, you know, doing my mechanic business. I was, you know, driving limousines and party buses.
So
you know,
did that happen, Ms. Smith?
When the first time he took me away from it all, you know, it wasn't like, we didn't even get sober that stand, because he's done quite a few terms of violations during our relationship. Before he even did a term, the whole first time long time we were together, we stayed loaded, you know, and then he'd run out of money from working. He had a mechanic business, and he'd run, well, can't you go out there and turn a date? You used to do it before. This is when he was taking me away from it, you know what I mean?
Would you do that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's such a sad thing, but I know it's an addict thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with how he felt for you or who you are. It was that he was a drug addict, and drug addicts do just raunchy, ratchet stuff.
Yeah, we do.
And, you know, whatever it is, they do. And that's what was available to you, and that's what I'm not giving you a pass. I'm just saying I get it.
See, Your Honor, it seems like his case...
How much younger is she than you?
8 years.
Okay. Not as much as I thought, but...
It seems like his Superman cape came out when it was convenient, you know what I mean? And then it got to the point, even since everything was in his name, because he's taken me away from the life, when he felt the need and I wouldn't do, say it was a sexual favor that he wanted, he'd be putting me out. It's time for you to go. Or I'd be in the living room floor, he'd be dumping water on me. It was like I was his I don't want to say trophy wife, because you know what I was doing, but in front, as far as everybody else knew, I stayed at home, I cooked his lunches, I did all this. But as soon as he came from work, I couldn't do nothing without having his stuff, if you know what I mean, tapping me on my shoulder. You know what I mean? I felt like I was still out there and just wasn't getting paid for it most of the time. That's what I felt.
Mr. Long, did you at some point become overbearing? You know, you kind of got her off the street. She didn't have a lot of options, and you could kind of treat her whatever way you wanted to because she didn't have a lot of options?
In my mind, I don't see her. I don't see the things she's saying. But now that she says it, I see what
you didn't see it that way then. You thought it was all well and good. She had been a prostitute, so why can't you just
treat her like
give
that,
it up?
right?
Yeah, treat her like why she can give it up at will? Ask for it at will.
And like you said, I mean, at the time, you know, I didn't really think of it, but now that it's coming from a different
angle,
I see it.
You see how messed up it was.
Yeah.
You see how messed up it was.
Yeah.
Ms. Smith, you said that when you started to come into your own at some point, and you started to become more and more of the woman we see today. And I understand that as a part of that process, you began to tell him no for sex. Yeah. And he would do...
I would go out when he would want sexual favors.
And you didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to do it. I would go and get a girl to bring her home and say, this is my husband, could you take care of him? It even got to the point when, if I didn't have money, this sounds terrible, I would go out and turn a date so I could get a girl for him. So what kind of sense does that make? Because all he had was narcotics at the time to give the girl. You know, and she wanted money. Yeah, it got really bad. But I'd rather go be out there and know what I'm being, if I'm being a prostitute, than be at home with my husband and feel like that.
Next, can Robert explain his shocking behavior when a social worker came to check out Tanya's skills as a mother? If the ink on your marriage license is barely dry, but you're ready to call it quits, call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com. Become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt. Broken relationships, real solutions. Divorce Court continues.
Ms. Smith, as you grew older, you continued to evolve. I think your story is an extraordinary one. You had a daughter in...
2007.
That inspired a further change. Could you tell me about that?
Yeah. I would like to be honest with you and say that that stopped all the drug abuse, but it didn't. It did stop most of the time me doing what I was doing, but then it just took the drug abuse to where I didn't want it in the house, or I didn't want the girls in the house. And after it being, 10 years of him being pleased the way he was, and as many girls as he wanted to, sometimes 4 and 5 a night, and then me suddenly wanting to change, it just wasn't going to happen that way. Mm-hmm. And then it took to the point to where it got stressful, where I want one thing, he wants another, and just life ain't. But once I got my daughter, I had a little girl, things began to change in me, you know. And then we had an anonymous tip from a hotline that said I was going door to door for food. At the time when the lady was there, there's 2 times that I was being interviewed. One time while the lady's there interviewing me about my daughter, he's still in the room, butt naked, Your Honor, doing his thing, porno. I'm like, the lady's out here, and look at you. He didn't even put his clothes, he never even came out. The lady's sitting there interviewing him, I'm trying to say he wasn't in there. She goes to the fridge, look in the fridge, and all that was in there was a 40-ounce. Anyway, they end up coming back again to interview me after they had removed my child. And I had put a restraining order out against him at the time. And while I'm being interviewed the second time, he kicks in the door. This time, I'm a hysterical wreck. Did he come up to console me? Did he come up to help me? Did he try to stay clean? He did nothing. Did not even try to help me stay clean. The only time he showed up at my place is because it was cold out in the garage. There was no air conditioner, no heater, and he wanted a comfortable place to get loaded. And when I had to stop doing that, things got really bad.
Mr. Wait, hang on, Mr. Long, is this sad story I'm hearing true?
You know what? You're hearing parts that she wants you to hear, and
well, you tell me the parts you want me to hear.
The parts that she's telling you are true, but they're there's you know, I mean, there's parts where, you know, I was working and providing, and yeah, you know, when I
Would fall off the wagon.
when I exactly fall off the wagon and get in my addiction, I mean, you know, I mean, I'm not thinking all bets are off, and I'm not thinking of, you know, her. I'm not thinking anybody but.
When you're working, why didn't you, like, go someplace else and set up money for her or something? You knew you were a bad guy. You knew you were doing ugly, ugly things when you were in the throes of your addiction. Why didn't you, while you had capacity to do so, get them out of harm's way in one way, shape, or form, so that when you did fall back off the wagon, you didn't fall on her?
Your Honor, I'm glad you said that. I used to beg him to take that somewhere else. I mean, right underneath, my feet would be vibrating because he's got girls who are doing that. And and I gotta say this, my daughter was 5, and I have her with me like this. It's 4 o'clock in the morning for them to be quiet. You know what I mean? I seriously got bad. But, you know, I took responsibility on my part. I was involved in this life for a long time. I let it go. And then when it got to the point where I didn't, there's been times where he brought this girl home, and I don't know where he used to get his girls, but if I went out and got one, at least I'd make sure she was decent to look at. He brought something home that was like, look what I brought home for you. This girl.
For you?
Yes, this girl looked like he found her on Skid Row somewhere in an abandoned shack, talking about he brought her home for me.
When Divorce Court continues, after all of the pain these two have shared, what can Tanya reveal to bring Robert to the brink of tears?
Do you think Robert is serious about getting and staying sober? Call 1-800-282-1991 to vote now and see if America agrees with your opinion. You'll also receive some valuable offers. Call now, 1-800-282-1991.
If you would like your case heard on Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com and join the conversation on Twitter at Divorce Court. Divorce Court continues.
Mr. Long, you know, I want to get mad, but I'm so devastated back here, I can't even get there. Can you say something to rehabilitate your reputation here today?
Well, you know, basically all I could tell you is, you know, through the years, you know, I had a problem with drugs and alcohol, and you know, I was clean and sober for years at a time, and I stopped doing what I was doing, which was meetings and stuff of that effect. And when I started getting loaded, like you said, all bets are off, and I can't control what I do around me. But like I said, I wish I could have knew that I was going to get
But you knew you were an addict, and you knew that addicts go up and down, in and out. It wasn't like you knew that. So when you were clean and sober, you didn't do anything to protect. I mean, when you were Dr. Jekyll, you didn't do anything to keep her safe from Mr. Hyde. And you could have.
Even if it didn't keep me safe, I really thought he would have his child. But then, you know, I'd like to say that I've been married to a man a lot of years, so I must have some love for him. There was some good times in it. But if there's any substantial time, I've seen him get time and it go by. Ask him how much time he has today. You know, maybe a little over a month. And I've been almost 18 months, and I've been working hard. I've been taking full responsibility for my 6-year-old child without any looking towards the streets. I mean, that's schooling, that's clothes, that's everything she needs, and doing the best of my ability.
Smith,
and it's hard from doing that. And there's been times where
let me say this,
slipped.
Mrs. Smith, I am so enamored of you. You had no control, you had no power, you had just difficulty and addiction and abuse, and you rose up to be a woman who's no longer in that life and strong enough to tell your story after having done it.
It's not me. It's got to be my higher power.
Yeah.
It's definitely. Thank you.
But you chose to seek it, and you're working it. I mean, you work the steps.
It's not easy.
I get that. I get that. Mr. Long, let me
trust him.
Let me ask you this. It almost seems silly. You say in your papers that she's argumentative. I would like to investigate your side. I mean, it seems like such a one-sided thing here. I want to give you an opportunity to say something, but I don't know quite. Is there something you think I should need to hear to balance the tables out a little bit, or to soften this up for me?
Your Honor, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything that's going to soften the tables up, to be honest with you. I mean, I did what I did,
Right.
and I was in my addiction, and I can't take it back. You know what I'm saying? But you know, there is times when, you know, I was a good man, and I was clean and sober, and I took care of my family, but that doesn't I think that doesn't outweigh what I did before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wish I could change what I was in the past, but I can't.
Judge Lynn Toller's ruling next.
It's time for you to call 1-800-282-1991 to answer today's question. You'll receive some valuable offers. Call now.
Divorce Court. Judge Lynn Toller's ruling right now.
Mrs. Smith, you have an unusual request of this court. Could you tell me what it is you would like me to, the order that you want me to impose?
Okay. I just like him to get a little substantial amount of sobriety underneath his belt before he promises to be a permanent fixture in my daughter's life. You know me, I'm used to that. After all these years, every time I think I can trust him or the things are going to be better, the relapse happens and the bad stuff happens. And I fall down that spiral with, oh, he's going to be better, or that I could save him like he tried to save me. But now I've got a daughter to think about, you know. I buried a parent and a sibling due to this addiction. And I know what it does. I just want it to stop with me.
Right. Right.
And I feel if she sees him coming in and out, she's already confused.
Right.
You know, she asked him when we were going to live together again.
Right.
And he tells her, when your mommy loves me again. You know what I mean? Did you not?
Mr. Long, Mr. Long,
You know?
Mr. Long, Mr. Long.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you seeking any type of visitation?
Yes, ma'am. I see my daughter almost every day, and you know, if
Has it been ordered by a court?
I've got sole custody.
You got sole custody, but does he have visitation?
Yeah.
What's the nature of his visitation?
She said, my worker said for my discretion, that if I thought he was loaded, but there's no way I can prove, and it's not even about him being loaded. I just want him to get some, he always says that he can't help financially because he's getting himself together. And I think he needs to just work on getting himself together before he walks in and out of her life. I'm used to it. I can deal with it. I've learned to, I hate to say, expect it.
Yeah.
But she's confused.
Miss Smith, there's
thinks
nothing I can award you from him that's going to solve the problem that you have.
Well, you can't award child support because he can't help us.
Right.
You know,
No,
so
that's what I'm saying. He's an addict. He's an addict through and through. Now, whether he stays sober for 20 years, at some junctures that will happen. But you can't, this guy isn't the real guy. And you've got to remember that. I mean, women always hold out hope. We're always wishing it could. We're always looking to feather that nest. That can't happen, and you got to do that on behalf of your daughter. I sympathize with everything that you've been through, but no matter what kind of logic I tell him when he gets loaded, it doesn't mean anything. But you're going to stay sober.
What do I say to my daughter?
What you say to your daughter is your daddy is not well, and he can't come here till he is. It's hard, it's difficult, but it's better than having a loaded guy around your kid. Do you know what I'm saying? There is no perfect solution to this. Anything you do, any solution there is going to be a ratchet, because it's a ratchet situation. But what I'm going to say this, I don't think you've ever gotten break the first. I don't think you've ever had $10 extra at the end of the month. I don't think anybody has ever given you anything. I don't think he has anything to give you. So I have an old scholarship fund. I still got some money in it. And I'm going to give you $1,000 to help you do whatever it is you need to do. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But you deserve a break from somewhere, somehow, and sometimes the robe isn't where it is. Sometimes it's just one human being to another. So I'm going to reach in that fund, give you $1,000, and wish you all the best. This matter is adjourned.
Tanya is grateful for the judge's ruling and her gift for their daughter. She continues to work on her sobriety. day by day. Post a comment or submit your case at divorcecourt.com or call toll-free 1-877-311-2222. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Divorce Court.